Now, one of the things that when you start looking at lenses very closely is that there's a lot of letters that get associated with a particular lens. And so there's a lot of acronyms that gets used in the terminology of the technology of a lens. And I can only imagine what happens on the insides of these companies where a designer, developer, engineer comes up with a particular idea and it's so important, it gets a letter. And that letter, if it's really important and it's really good, it gets put on the lens. And that means Sony's really proud of that particular feature or piece of technology. And in this class, we're going to be going through all of these different bits of information, and they all apply to photography in some manner of speaking or another. So these are the different sections where you are going to find that information. You are going to be able to understand what every one of these words or letter designations mean by the end of this particular class. Now, we are going to be discussing two different categories of lenses. FE lenses, which I'm going to be using with this little red logo that's going to be on the left side of the screen in every imaginable case that I can, and the little blue E for the E-series lenses, which will be on the right-hand side of the screen. So whenever I'm listing information, you'll generally see it associated in that manner. And so if you have one of the full-frame cameras, you know that you want to pay more attention to the FE. If you have one of the crop frame, smaller cameras, you're going to be wanting to pay more attention to the E lenses. But if you do have those crop frame cameras, you can use all the FE lenses without any sort of problem at all. So you'll probably want to pay attention to both sections very closely. Looking real quickly at the lenses that are available, you can see that we have more lenses available to the FE crowd than the E crowd. And that's because that's just kind of the direction that photography has gone. There's a lot of very serious photographers. They want serious, top quality gear, and that is going to be in the full frame system. And so there's a lot of different options out there, and we'll be breaking this all down as we go throughout the class. Now, interestingly, Sony has 4 different categories or lens series that they make. They have basic Sony lenses, which are good quality lenses that meet kind of basic standard quality. And they have 21 different lenses, and they have quite a few of these in the E-series lenses, and a few of them in the FE series. And in the early days of Sony really building out their lens lineup, they involved Carl Zeiss Manufacturing, which is a very high-end, very old company from Germany that has a lot of experience with high-quality glass. Zeiss lenses have been on some of the best camera systems in history. And so it was just kind of a name that any photographer would immediately associate with quality. And so it wasn't clear exactly what Zeiss's involvement was. Did they design the lens? Did they test the lens? Did they approve the lens? I'm not sure, but it did meet Carl Zeiss's standard for whatever they had with a Sony lens. And so you had a Sony built lens that met the Zeiss quality, and those were lenses that I picked up in the early days of the Sony system because you knew those were going to be good quality glass. Now, back in the days of Minolta started making higher end lenses, and they decided to call them gold lenses, and they just shortened that to G lenses. And Sony continued that with their acquisition of all these Minolta products. And so they started immediately putting out their own G lenses as they developed their own lens making ability. Now, the word gold doesn't get used very much. The color doesn't really get used. You don't see gold rings on the lenses or anything like that. But you will see a G, and that indicates a high level Sony lens. And so they've continued to do that, and they have that as just kind of a higher standard lens. And then after several years of building their own lenses, working with the Zeiss approval process, whatever that was, they decided that they were going to create their own even higher standard level of lens. And that became the G Master lens. And so you'll see an orange G logo printed on the sides of some of those lenses that have that highest level of quality. Now, there is a sharpness quality standard that G Master lenses need to fit into, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the technology section. But there is also feature differences that you're going to find between these 4 categories. And I wanted to do a quick summary of all the lenses available and some of the most popular features like weather sealing. That is something that you'll find on all of the G and G Master series, but not something you're going to find on all the base Sony lenses. Having a physical aperture ring is something that professionals prize in many cases, so you're going to find it on their professional series of G Master lenses, but not so much on their other lenses. Stabilization built in to the lens, which is going to give you even better stabilization than the camera can give you in some cases, especially with certain longer lenses. A D-click ring allows you to take the aperture ring and turn the clicks off of it so that you can work with it in a smooth way that was appropriate for cinema work. And so you can see that as you get up to the G lenses and the G Master lenses, you just stand a better chance of getting some of these extra features. And so it's not guaranteed that you're going to get more features by going up to a different series lens, but it's just more likely that you are going to get more with that.